Buzz, Who's Laughing, and Amanda Spears, and we're talking about Best Comedy Directing. The nominees this year are Master of None for the episode Parents, directed by Aziz Ansari, Transparent for the episode Man on the Land, directed by Jill Soloway. Then we have 2 episodes of Silicon Valley, Daily Active Users, which is the season premiere, Founder Friendly, which is the season premiere, directed by Mike Judge, and Alec Berg's episode Daily Active Users. And then Veep, we have 3 episodes, resulting in a tie in this category. We have Morning After by Chris Addison, Mother by Dale Stern, and Kissing Your Sister by David Mandel. And having multiple episodes directing, nominated for directing, or in any other category under the old system was an advantage because it signified that voters really liked your show, and they would probably rank you 1, 2, 3 in whatever order they felt like. Under the new system, where Emmy voters are only ticking off 1 episode per category or 1 nominee, this is going to lead to a lot of vote splitting, I believe. Can you tell us a bit more about the ballot, Zach, how it looks this year?
So, sure. At least as I looked at it on a mobile device, you go to a category like comedy directing, and what you get are just a list of the shows that are nominated in alphabetical order, and they don't have the director's name or the episode name. It's just, you'll see Transparent, Master of None, Veep, 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 Silicon Valley, Silicon Valley. And then you have to click on it to see which of these episodes you're voting for, essentially. So I think that's going to be a little confusing for people.
Are they in alphabetical order then by episode title or by director's name?
By show.
No, I mean after show. So if there's 3 Veep, is it then by episode?
I think it's by episode.
Okay, well I know I'm going to have to change mine to Kissing Your Sister.
I'm not 100% on that. I looked at it very briefly, so don't quote me on that. But it is kind of surprising that in these categories where you have multiple nominees, there's not more of a, at least on a mobile device that people are going to look at, there's not more discernment with who the nominees are. I think this is going to be really, really hurtful for the chances of Veep and Silicon Valley.
I think with Silicon Valley, we can kind of say that one is stronger than the other because Mike Judge, he's been nominated the last 2 years at the Emmys and at DGA for directing Silicon Valley, whereas Alec Berg has never been nominated for either. So they clearly like one of those directors better than the other. But with Veep, I find that it's the perfect storm of you can't tell which one is going to get the most votes because you've got the season premiere by Chris Addison, and he just won DGA. And then you've got the episode Mother, which is the most popular episode. It's the only one of this group that's nominated also for directing and editing. And then you have Kissing Your Sister, which is by the showrunner, David Mandel, and I think is the one that would probably win under the old system. So I have no idea which Veep episode would come the closest. So that's why I'm going with Man on the Land Transparent, where Transparent, even though they only have 1 nomination and they did submit another episode, vote splitting is not a factor for them, and they won last year, so they might have won anyway.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be Man on the Land for 2 reasons. Number 1, vote splitting by Veep and Silicon Valley. Well, 3 reasons, I should say. Number 2, because it won last year, Jill Soloway. And number 3, I think, kind of unique among comedy series, it is a very visual show. And it's very much about the direction of it. And I think that will work, and it stands out amongst the other nominees, especially this episode for the way that it integrates the flashback very artfully, the way that the montage kind of towards the end of it where Tambor is fleeing this concert. It's a very visual kind of show. So
I totally agree. That's why I have it in first place. If without the merging of the flashback and this like crazy hippie festival that you couldn't pay me to go to, if they didn't have that kind of merging of the 2 scenes so seamlessly, I probably wouldn't I have it in first place. I would feel more confident about Kissing Your Sister if Testimony last year on Veep had one where they kind of did something that they don't normally do, was kind of stylized like a C-SPAN episode, like it was C-SPAN.
Hmm.
Kissing Your Sister is kind of like making fun of mockumentaries, which could help it. We did see Modern Family win this category. But I think three, yeah, I think they're going to be confused if they're just seeing Veep three times. Hopefully they know to click and look. But then I think Parents also has a little bit of an advantage because it does also have those kind of interesting flashbacks to different countries and these different things going on mixed with a lot of it.
Parents is what I have in second place, actually. And for that reason, I mean, it is like Transparent. It is very visual. It is. I mean, it's in 235, which is unique in and of itself for a comedy show. And you're right. I mean, the very intricate flashbacks in the episode.
In foreign languages, both of them, in
Yes.
Transparent and Parents.
Hmm. So I think if there's a spoiler there, it is Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, Master of None and Transparent, they're definitely different from the other five nominees, which are, HBO satires. They're in the 10 o'clock hour on Sundays from April to June. I think that those two shows have a lot of the same voters voting for both of them, and they saw them in every category, and they just ticked them off as many times as they could. But we do know that Transparent must have, some base of support, and if that's bigger than a fifth of the Silicon Valley Veep crowd, then that might have the most number one votes. I've got Mike Judge in second just because he has been nominated every time that he possibly could have. So
I might move them
he,
up.
yeah.
He's
And then,
also.
oh, yeah.
I was just gonna say he's also an Emmy winner, right, for King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead. So I mean, he's very well known in the industry.
Yeah, I do find it a little concerning that Transparent couldn't get their second episode in because they only submitted two, whereas Veep submitted three. And it's not like everybody who is nominated for Veep is a name. I mean, what happened on Transparent was their cinematographer stepped up for a week to take over the directing. But on the Veep side, we have the first assistant director, Dale Stern. He stepped up to direct Mother. So these are not known entities. So I don't think that Transparent is as beloved as Veep right now among directors, especially since Veep just won the Directors Guild Award. But
I think in a couple of years we're going to see, if we do see a lot of vote splitting, whether or not these shows become a little bit more strategic in deciding, do we really just want to get as many nominations as we can, or do we want to set ourselves up for the best possible scenario and submit one, at the most two, and that be it? Because I don't think you can say there's a lot of vote splitting when there's only two, but when you get up there to being like three, that's a lot. So we're probably going to see a shift from trying to run a category of nominations to, okay, we're going to put our absolute best episode up and that's it. If we see people like Veep and Silicon Valley not able to pull this off consistently when you have that many nominations.
Yeah, I worry more about vote splitting in these writing and directing categories across the board, more so than in the acting categories, which I think there's a genuine threat of vote splitting in the acting categories as well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we are only 1 year into this new system. And funny enough, as I looked at all of the acting winners from last year and most of the writing and directing winners as well, they didn't have competition from their own shows, which is kind of... But I think in writing and directing it is a little more of concern because they might not be as well-known entities as the stars.
And there's the one thing with the writers and directors, even last year, you can't really say they didn't watch the episodes based on what they selected.
Absolutely.
They might not have been my choice, but I could see how people would vote for them. So we can't really say they're strictly going off popularity alone. I mean, if we were going strictly off popularity, then I would put Mike Judge in first place because he is the most well-known.
Mm-hmm. There also weren't, I'm trying to recall from last year, there wasn't that much, aside from in Mad Men, had 2 writing nominations. That lost. But then Game of Thrones had 2 directing nominations and won. So, I mean, there weren't that many instances like what we see this year of multiple Veep nominations, multiple Silicon Valley nominations. You know,
I think when there's 2, if there's one everyone's rallying behind, it makes more sense. Because I think with like Game of Thrones, they just kind of gravitated more towards that season finale than they did Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken.
And even in the case of Mad Men, there was more of a general consensus that they would give that award to the finale, you know, to Matt Weiner for the finale, right? I mean, that was everyone's general. No, he didn't. No, he didn't win.
That's what we thought.
But I'm saying that there was like I think this year. All right, if we were to pick one Veep episode that we thought there would be some general consensus behind, what do we think it would be?
It would probably be Mother. It's not. I think Mother and Morning After aren't. Morning After is the other one in writing, isn't it? I get all the titles confused.
I do too.
It would probably be one of those 2. Like I said, if Testimony had won last year, which was again stepping outside of their normal thing and very stylized, I might pick them. I might predict them. That one is the most directed episode, if you want to say, because it's so much different than the others. But when you have these complicated interwoven flashbacks in a comedy series and in a foreign language, and they're still kind of with so much going on, I just think that those 2 are probably just a little bit ahead.
And
yeah,
I think
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, the Emmys haven't really responded to that documentary episode for some reason. Like Veep submitted 3 episodes in writing. That was the only one that didn't get nominated. They submitted 3 episodes in editing. That was the only one, again, that was snubbed. And it was a different set of episodes. So it should be the obvious one that I think they gravitated around, but it's just not working out for some reason. Just going back to like whether we had a similar situation last year with the multiple episodes, a lot of that was just based off of these submissions. Like Veep for years would submit like 4 or 5 episodes in writing, directing, and it just couldn't get through because their votes were split too many ways. They didn't have, you know, a big Battle of the Bastards episode that people would obviously check off before the others.
I'd love to see the Veep version of Battle of the Bastards. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So last year they finally submitted just 1 in directing, and then they finally got in, and then they had done that the year before in writing, and then since that worked out, now they've said, okay, we'll just submit tons, and they actually do have enough support that they can get nominated now. Ironically, the system has changed, so it's not helping them at all. And then Silicon Valley just
won Best Series. It kind of makes sense to go ahead and try for more. You can't really blame them for trying to be just a little greedy. I mean, they couldn't get Allison Janney in, what was it, season 2 into guest actress?
Well, she didn't submit herself.
Oh, she didn't. Okay, that makes sense. Then I was always wondering what happened there. But yeah, it makes sense after you've won Best Series to try for a little bit more in certain categories. But it'll be interesting how long that lasts for for any shows. I mean, we saw a broadcast show like Blackish only submitted 1 for writing and directing.
And didn't get in for it.
It didn't get in, but at least they didn't cancel themselves out. If you love that show, there was only 1 place to go. Right. And I think we're probably going to see a lot more of that happening in the future under this system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's do rankings. So I've got number 1, Man on the Land, number 2, Founder Friendly, Kissing Your Sister, Morning After, Mother, Parents, Daily Active Users. And you go, Amanda.
Okay, I'm going to have to switch mine up a little bit because I'm just looking at them, but I'm going to go Man on the Land, Parents. Right now I'm going to go Mother, even though I can't stand that episode. Founder Friendly, Kissing Your Sister, and then Morning After and Daily Active Users.
And Zach?
I got Man on the Land. I've got Parents. I've got Mother in third place. Founder Friendly in fourth. Was Kissing Your Sister, Morning After, Daily Active Users.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it was daily active users, just because I don't think that they like Alec Berg as much as they like Mike Judge. But any of these other episodes, I could see winning pretty much, just because it's so crazy.
This is a really tough category to call, and we are going to find out whether or not vote splitting in any category, I think, is going to factor in. So we'll have a lot more to talk about next year.